Hey everyone, it is Thursday morning and I am here all by myself. I know that life is busy. I know Kathy posted that she needed to be somewhere, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about and review this lesson on goal achieving activities. The highlights for me here are really it's a bridging of the knowing doing gap. It's building new paradigms. It's acting as if you are already that person that you want to become. It's really an amalgam of all of that. And I think this is really important because everybody's life is really full and really busy. I think Lisa brought that up that, we all have amazing, busy, full, fun, joyful lives. And if we're going to have more, be more, do more, we're going to have to give up, meaning not totally abandon, but let go of some of the practices that we're currently doing and incorporate new ones into our lives. And the way that looks in this lesson is goal achieving activities. I have found it hard in the past and struggled with constantly holding the image of what I want, which is a really big, beautiful C-type goal, and then knowing where to start or where are the inroads or how do I approach this? How do I materialize this, right? And there's a difference between brute force engineering it and getting into the image of it and the feeling of it, and then downloading inspired actions. And I think everybody here has been around this work enough that when you're getting an inspired action. Now, do you pay attention to it and do you write it down and do you start to move out on it? I think that's so important. And I think what makes that challenging at times is having the faith in the invisible power and the formless substance and God. Not that we don't have faith, but faith that even though we can't see the whole road, we can at least take this first step. And if we take that step consistently, things will start to move through us, to and through us into form. That's where the faith comes in. So I'm just going to go through the notes here, and I print these out. You all have a printed out section of it. But I love that there's notes sections in the side here. If you're not into that, you can write it out on a separate piece of paper on a document. But I'm just going to go through here and highlight some of the things that really stuck out to me. And I want you, while you're thinking about this and listening to this, to think about several of these things and ask yourself the question, what am I going to do about it? What 6 goal achieving activities? If 6 feels overwhelming, do 3. 3 at a time, 3 at a time, 3 at a time every day. And have it be, a focused one that's going to drive the project forward. This really, I love that Lisa's in a project management program. This really is about project management, but it's like managing a garden, managing, preparing for a baby, managing for something that you don't necessarily know what all the next steps are, but you can take the next step. So on the first page here of today's greatest adventure, they want us to keep in mind that success is the realization of a worthy goal. That's seemingly obvious at this point, but it's so important because often we don't let ourselves feel fulfilled, feel happy, feel joyful about the process, about the thing that we desire that's here. It's in vibrational form. We don't allow ourselves to enjoy the vibrational equivalence or where we are today. If we're unhappy today and we think we'll be happy when that materializes, when it comes into our experience, an unhappy journey doesn't lead to a happy end. So it's about accepting where we are today, being grateful about everything that we have today, joyful of the abundance around us, of what we have. Things that you have today were just a dream. Think about that. So we're always progressing, we're always growing, we're always working on this worthy ideal. And if we can fall in love with the journey, achieving those goals becomes easier because we're not keying our happiness, our dopamine, our joy to the achievement of the goal. It's really loving the process, loving the journey, getting our satisfaction from that. So keep that in mind. The purpose of this message is to tell you a wonderful way to keep realizing, to keep achieving your goals one after another in the years ahead. The goal sometimes seems so far off, and our progress often appears to be so painfully slow that we have a tendency to lose heart. Don't lose heart. Don't give up. Persist. There's a whole chapter in persistence in Think and Grow Rich for a reason. And we come close to falling back into whole, he says here, it sometimes seems we'll never make the grade, and we come close to falling back into old habits, which, while they may be comfortable now, lead nowhere. That's the comfort zone that he's talking about there. It's comfortable in your comfort zone. It's cozy. It's warm. It doesn't feel unsafe, but nothing grows there. Well, that's not true. Things grow there, but it's the same thing over and over and over again. It's predictable, right? That's why it feels safe and comfortable. So now there's a way to beat this. It's been used successfully by many of the world's most successful people, and it's been advocated by many of the greatest thinkers. And, he goes in to say here, give us a step-by-step way of dealing with this. But he reiterates that learning is when we consciously entertain a new idea. Think of a child learning to ride a bike. They think, I would love to learn how to ride that bike. So they consciously entertain an idea. They get emotionally involved with it. They're like, I can do this. It'll be so fun. I can go fast on it. Then they act on it. Now what happens? They fall off, they get back on, they fall off, they get back on, till finally they can balance the bike. And then they observe a change in their results. So they're like, look, mom, no hands. They get better and better and better. But there's a fair bit of course correcting that goes into that. It happens when a child learns how to walk. Same thing. So I want you to really appreciate, if you ever feel like you're stuck, you're not advancing towards your goals, reframe it. Use your perception differently and say, wait a minute. My awareness is way up. I'm doing different things. Things are getting better and better every day in every way, and keep using the tools. So, on the third page here, Bob has, of course, a picture of the stick person, and he says, learning is not difficult. It's not. We know so much. Never before has information been available to us the way it is now. But it's altering the old paradigm where the difficulty comes in. Earl Nightingale just mentioned that he was going to give us an idea that has successfully been used by many of the world's most successful people, and it's been advocated by many of the greatest thinkers. I can tell you from personal experience that it's an idea that I have used, this is Bob speaking, which has been worth an absolute fortune. Bob made millions and millions of dollars in his lifetime. Guy with an 8th grade education, born during the Depression. However, you must remember that your old paradigm will put up a royal battle in an attempt to stop you from acting on a new idea. So we have to break those old habits, and we have to do it one day at a time. And it's back to the old, adage, how do you get 18 plates spinning? You get one spinning really well. So what I love about this is that what he's encouraging us to do here, he has us go through and observe our behaviors and say, are we doing it for other people? Is it goal achieving activities? Are we fulfilling our own goals? Is it making us feel fulfilled, what we're doing? Those are such good questions. So I want you to think about that and ask yourself those questions. But most importantly, what he has us do is go to the end here, and he says, think about goal achieving activities. When you think about your goal, think about it in these terms. What can I do on a daily, consistent basis? Maybe it's just 15 minutes a day if you have something else you're doing full time. Maybe it's 30 minutes a day. Certainly studying this work has got to be part of your goal producing activities, because it keeps raising your awareness and giving you the practice. But, he gives us on page 18 constructive tips for everyday planning. And I really want you to do this, not just think about it. Flip and do it. Okay. I'm in it with you. Carry a small notepad for jotting down things to be done. An inexpensive notepad has contributed a major role in the success of many executives. It could be it could be notes on your phone. Something though, I think there's something about physically writing things out that's really valuable. Plan your day tightly. Schedule enough time to keep you moving. You know, I tend to plan my day in blocks. Like in the morning, I study. I exercise because if I don't, I know myself well enough to know if I don't get my exercise in before noon, it's probably not going to happen. So plan your day. Don't let your day plan you. Nature abhors a vacuum. If you have an open day, trust me when I say it will get filled. Now, this isn't to say don't take time off, don't give yourself time to rest, but time expands to the work allowed for it. So Dan uses 90-minute sprints to plan his day to get things done. He'll work on something for 90 minutes, see where he's at. I've started using a concept about 18 minutes. That's about as much as I can do at a time. But there's a diminishing return. If you work too long on something, you can become fatigued and get, diminishing results. Schedule your outgoing telephone calls so they can be taken care of in one sitting. There is less chance of finding busy lines early in the morning or late in the afternoon. I mean, this was before the internet and texts and cell phones, etc. But it brings up a good point. Is your phone constantly on? Is it a distraction? Do you get notifications? Do you get texts? I saw somebody, there's a guy, Dr. Andrew Huberman, who's at, I think, USC or UCLA. He said he had a woman that he worked with who had her door open, but she would never turn to talk to you. She would acknowledge you if you walked in. You could talk to her, but she wouldn't engage physically. She'd listen to you mentally and engage with him verbally, but it was just her way of staying on track. So find a way to time block and stay very focused. Kathy, I know you talked about focus. Focus is so important because it increases the amplitude of vibration. For many of us, if you have a big project, you're going to have to break it down bit by bit and work on it day by day by day. If we try to go after the whole thing, it's too much. So schedule your outgoing telephone calls so they can be taken care of at one sitting. Time box it. If you're doing sales calls, time box those. If you're doing coaching, time box that, etc. Plan meetings for the beginning or close of the day, not in the midst of work periods. That's pretty self-evident. Write out a list of things to discuss at each meeting. Plan things that you can work on or think about while you are in transit or waiting around. Have material to read or other constructive work handy for odd moments that inevitably crop up. I listen to music occasionally in my car. I almost always listen to lessons. And I usually carry something like this with me. So if I have time to kill, I'm working, at least on my mindset. The best way to stop wasting time is to schedule your time. Plan tomorrow, tonight. Don't wait till tomorrow morning. Bob used to do that, those 6 goal achieving activities in the evening. Virtually everyone goes to bed at a different time each night, but as a rule, gets up at the same time every morning. Set your alarm back 1 hour and you will gain 94 weeks a year. You will gain 9 40-hour weeks a year. I don't recommend sleeping less. I think we know enough now to know that sleep is so vitally important. Sleep, hydration, exercise, meditation, mindfulness, all of these things, good nutrition. Sleep is one of the most, we're finding scientifically, one of the most important things you can do. I'll share with you some tips that the trainer I'm working with said at night now for my sleep habits, my sleep hygiene. He has me doing either a hot tub, a hot shower, journaling, getting off my social media, and visualizing the next day is a really cool and powerful way to do that. So create your own bedtime routine, but do it, set your intention for the next day, go to bed on a high, pleasant thoughts. There's a really cool Neville Goddard process that he talks about where he has you revise the day. If something unpleasant happened, you rework it in your mind the way you wanted it to go, and you leave it on that note. We can talk more about that later. So on page 19, he's wrapping this up. He says, Sir Walter Raleigh, who built the great tobacco empire, not a great empire, but was asked how he accomplished so much in such a short time. He said, when there is anything to do, I start it. I think it's the start that stops almost everybody, right? It looms large. It seems big. It seems, there's an old saying, how do you eat a chocolate elephant? One bite at a time. Just get the flywheel going. Don't look at a thing, start it. Don't imagine that it is too difficult, start it. Don't put it off for another day, start it. Don't pretend that you must think it over, start it. Don't scatter half-heartedly, put everything you can muster into your start. It can't be done, but with a forceful start, you can do it. It is absolutely the start that stops most people. So, you're either going to have excuses about why you're not doing it, overwhelmed, don't know where to start, all of these things, or you're just going to start it. And it may be that you need to start with planning, with organized planning. If you have a big project, break it down, start with the end in mind, and then reverse engineer it. Okay, in 3 months, I want a book to be done. That means I'm going to spend an hour a day writing. Doing that kind of executive planning is really smart. That makes a lot of sense. He goes on page 20 here to say, make a plan. Definitely make a plan. Get up early and follow this advice. Start with intensity. Do not be distracted by the know-it-all who is behind in their installment payments. A person who is doing their best today is truly alive, but a person who did their best yesterday is stagnant. These are all success principles that I think are really positive and really helpful. And they dovetail with their concepts around the mindset. So we always want to start it with an image of what we want, the end in mind, as Stephen Covey used to say, and then reverse engineer it. Now, you're not going to know how, and that also stops many people. I don't know how. What if I fail? I don't know where to start. That's where you dial into the infinite, into yourself, into your heart, and you ask for guidance, and it will come. The answers are all here. Bob used to say that. Or Bob had that beautiful practice of getting all the questions out onto a piece of paper, putting it in the center of the table, and then literally going around to each different chair and saying, how would Nightingale handle this? How would Andrew Carnegie handle this? He had his board of advisors, so to speak. So whatever that spiritual, energetic connection is, it could be someone living, it could be God, it could be the universe, it could be someone like, and respect. Use that effectively to help guide you. There is an energy flowing to and through us that we can tap into. And I'm telling you, the more I do and the more we do, the more you're going to see the miracles happen, because what we can do is huge, but in partnership with that energy, with that power, with God, with the universe, we're connected to the infinite. So I will leave it at that, but I highly encourage you to sit down and study this tonight over the weekend and really take the advice here and put it into action, because just having the awareness of it is one thing, putting it into action is another. So I hope this was helpful. Let me know. I'm going to post my calendar link into the WhatsApp. I would love to connect with everybody here, and have a fabulous Thursday. See you soon.